Nourishing Women community. Meg and I are so excited for you to be here and be a part of this wonderful community. That was the whole purpose of creating the Nourishing Women community, so that we could all be together and empower ourselves as women to inspire, to educate, and support one another. So we couldn't be more thrilled that you're here with us. We are excited to delve into deeper aspects of the topics that Meg and I so consistently talk about within our platform. You'll find insight via the videos we'll be creating 2 every month, the live Q&As, book clubs, the online Facebook support group, and so much more. We're so excited to have you part of this, and today we're going to talk about our very favorite topic, wellness without obsession.
Yeah, so we wanted this to be our first video because it really is, in a lot of ways, the foundation of our practice, and just more than that, just our message and what we like to center everything back to. So, you know, we're all about wellness and empowering ourselves with wellness, but we believe that really can't be done unless we do it in a non-obsessive way. I think we've all been at the extremes before. Both Victoria and I are very obsessive as well. So we definitely sympathize with all of you on that aspect, but since we've been there ourselves, we feel like we can really speak to it, and we feel that really wellness cannot be done in a place of obsession, because then we get so caught up on doing things perfect and making sure that we have all the little pieces of wellness, and we end up compromising things like our relationships and community, and you know, those things are part of wellness. They are part of cultivating and empowering yourself and cultivating the spirit of health, of peace, of happiness. So yeah, that's really our purpose behind this first video, is kind of just laying the foundation for everything that we're going to be talking about, because while we will be talking about a whole lot of health-centric and wellness topics, we want to make sure that we all understand that this is coming from a place of curiosity and empowerment versus obsession.
And judgment, for sure.
Exactly.
I loved all of that. Something that we thought would be fun to share with you guys is kind of how the concept of wellness without obsession was created. When Meg and I very first met to start formulating what would become Nourishing Minds Nutrition, we felt very torn between these worlds of that we love so much of intuitive eating and body positivity and health of every size, but we also loved these ideas of alternative medicine and holistic health practices and healing modalities and all these wonderful aspects that come along with that. And we felt like the worlds were often very extreme and polarizing. So we loved this idea and concept of bringing the two worlds together, and that's how we came up with this whole concept of wellness without obsession.
That is very true. We both actually very vividly remember that conversation. It's been so amazing to see how people have been so receptive to this idea and how it really resonates with so many people, because we really can have two worlds. Like we can, it's the best of both worlds.
Merge the two worlds together.
Combining like intuitive eating and food freedom also, but that with understanding that food is medicine. We can leverage it for our wellness. And so yeah, and a lot of what we talk about too is, of course, that emotional and mental aspect of wellness, which is again just foundational. And so yeah, that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about today.
All right, so let's get to the fine concepts of wellness without obsession.
Yeah, so the first element in wellness without obsession is that wellness without obsession honors individuality. A lot of the time in the wellness world, there's a lot of labels out there, there's a lot of food parameters, wellness parameters, if you will, and so we like to recognize that, you know, you can practice wellness and you can pursue wellness, I should say, and you can pursue, but that is going to be very individual for every single person. So wellness without obsession honors that and recognizes that a certain label or a food dogma does not, while those things aren't necessarily bad, they also sometimes can cause somebody to forget the individuality that is so important to recognize when we're talking about anything pertaining to health, because we are all so different, not only of course in our genetics, but in just our lifestyle and everything that goes into making us individuals. So yeah, we want to recognize that wellness without obsession, you don't have to have a certain label or a certain title to your food routine or anything in order to be well or to pursue wellness. And while that's not a really cool or hip thing to do, it's not like super like, yeah, I'm just an intuitive eater. It's not
a sexy thing to do.
No, it's not. But you know, that's our message, that's our passion, and we're sticking to that.
The second element to Wellness Without Obsession is the concept that this is all inclusive. This doesn't have to have any labels to what we are eating. You can eat whatever way makes you feel your best. With intuitive eating, there's no strict rules to this, guys. You can do whatever feels best for your body. You know, we all have different lineage and heritage, so to think that we're all going to eat the same is kind of silly, you know? But we really just want to encourage you to find ways that make you feel your best to eat, but also to know you don't always have to feel 100%. I think sometimes that's a misconception with this idea of like health and wellness, is that we're always going to feel super amazing from our foods, and that it can get a little obsessive as well. So all foods fit, there's no need for a label, it's all inclusive for whatever makes you feel your best. With that being said, it's important that we also recognize that food is not our identity. Food is so much fun, it's a part of who we are. We have to eat on a daily basis, but that doesn't mean it's the end-all be-all to our lives. And we really want to encourage each and every one of us to allow for us to have passions and hobbies outside of food and exercise. So they absolutely can be part of our passions and hobbies, but they're not going to be the only thing that we constantly think of, and that's what Wellness Without Obsession allows us to do.
Yeah, and the third element of Wellness Without Obsession is that wellness happens when we act out of a place of genuine respect and reverence for our bodies. So we gotta remember that in order to do that, we really gotta ditch what diet culture tells us to do. We gotta ditch this fat phobia, internalized fat phobia that we all seem to have because of, again, diet culture and the thin ideal. So we gotta leave those things behind and say, yeah, I'm no longer going to use those things in order to shape how I eat or how I feel about myself, because really in doing that, we shut off that body-mind connection and we sever that communication that is really instinctual to all of us. We just, for so long, in listening to diet culture and listening to these lies that are constantly being told to us about good foods, bad foods, fat phobia, but then all these things that really interfere with our ability to listen to our bodies and honor that from a place of respect versus eating things and feeling shameful for things and feeling like, oh, we shouldn't eat that or we shouldn't eat these, or these things are good or bad or whatever. And so really it's about leaving behind diet culture and again fostering that body-mind communication and that connection that really is so instinctual to all of us.
The fourth element to Wellness Without Obsession is that our emotional well-being and our mental health comes first and foremost. We love all these wonderful trends going on with wellness, the matchas and the actingens. I mean, we're drinking matcha lattes right now as we speak. But what I think is really important to understand and really internalize is that your mental health is the only thing that's a requirement for health.
To her point, don't compromise your emotional and mental health for, your pursuit of wellness or physical health, because that's what I think we see happening a lot. Unfortunately, people, they get so caught up in, like Victoria said, the workouts and the healthy foods and all this other stuff that they forget that investing in their soul and what's going on the inside, and that health is going to be the foundation for living a life that is well lived.
Yeah, and with that being said, keeping in mind too, our foods are going to be physically nourishing, but also most of the time soul nourishing. We really want to encourage that. That's why Meg and I so deeply believe in not having labels to what we eat, because if you have labels and then you need some soul nourishment, like eating a pizza or ice cream, and you want to go enjoy that experience, we don't want you to then feel shamed or judged for eating those foods, because that was a wonderful thing to do for your emotional well-being.
Yeah, and so we have soul nourishing foods that are so important. We talk about all the time. We have body nourishing foods, and sometimes they're one and the same.
Absolutely.
But there's a time and a place for all the things. There's a time and a place for slow mornings and drinking coffee with your dogs or your loved one, or happy hour with friends. And there's also a time and a place for workout classes and green juice. And so we got to remember, we just can allow our bodies to call the shots. What do you align with? What do you resonate with at that time? What are you really feeling? Not what you think you should be doing and not what society tells you to do, and not what you think is the healthiest option, but what truly feels good to you at that time.
And that, my friend, is flexibility, right? So we're going to be flexible with how we treat our wellness approach, and we're going to be flexible with the foods we choose to eat, the exercises we try to do, and always keep our emotional well-being first and foremost.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the fifth element of Wellness Without Obsession is that wellness is not just about the food. And this is reflected in the ebook that we wrote, and food is the very last pillar that we address. There are a lot of other factors that go into our emotional and our physical well-being, and we gotta remember that. I think we all get so caught up in the food things all the time.
Sure.
So caught up in it. And it's great, like we're dietitians, like we love food and we love the power of food and how food is such medicine to our bodies, but at the same time, it is not the end-all be-all. It's not the end-all be-all of your physical health or your emotional health. And so I think it's really good to recognize that, and it also releases some of the pressure around trying to perfect our food, because once again, healthy foods, not the end-all be-all, healthy foods.
Yeah.
So
keep in mind things like self-adoration and self-respect, sleep, stress management, movement, not necessarily focusing so much on exercise. These are the kind of things that we really want to focus on. And of course, let's not forget social connection. Hello.
Yes.
Like, what's the purpose to having health and wellness if we're not living our lives to the fullest?
Exactly. And so we love this element, this idea. It's not an idea, it's just reality that the end-all be-all of health is not food, and we can have so much flexibility with our lives when we think of it that way. We'll talk here in a second about what wellness looks like, what wellness without obsession looks like to us. But you'll find that, yeah, we don't really have labels at all. We don't have labels. We don't have labels. And we don't have good foods, bad foods, because again, we're removing the dichotomy, we're removing the extremes, and it really allows us to thrive in that gray area that really is wellness without obsession.
And when you don't put so much focus on just the food alone, it really does help to eliminate some of the shame and judgment that we often give to ourselves when we do eat something that we feel like we shouldn't, or we have these labels. So it's not only removing the labels, but also when we recognize there's so much more to our health and wellness than just food alone, I think it also helps remove a lot of that shame and judgment as well.
It does. It's very liberating. We believe in an approach that really allows us to live our best lives while also fostering emotional, mental, and physical well-being. We don't believe that wellness should be or feel all-consuming by any means. There is this place where we can really act in a way that promotes wellness without it having to take over our lives or without us having to think about it all the time.
Look, we've been there. Trust me. Meg and I definitely been in your shoes. If you're still in that place right now, that is perfectly okay. That's why we're here to spend time together and support one another, right? So we definitely lived in a place of extremes for most of our lives, if we're being real. And we have really found this ability to be okay with the unknown and be okay with the flexibility and the variability of life. And that's why I love talking about this concept of wellness without obsession so much, because it's taught both of us so much more than just how to eat in a non-obsessive manner. It's taught me how to live that way in every aspect of my life. Living in extremes made everything so black or white, all or nothing. And what I've realized is the gray area, like that's where the good stuff is. That's where true wellness and true like living your life to the fullest ability, that's where the good stuff is.
That's so good. And we've been talking about all these things, but practically, like, what does this look like for us? Like, how can people actually take these concepts and these ideas and apply them to your life? Well, I think the first thing is to remember that taking the expectations off yourself, I think that's the first place to start. Making sure that you have that conversation with yourself and you give yourself the permission to, hey, if you don't want to get the kale salad, you want to get the burger, you get the burger. If kind of like what we did at lunch today. And if you don't want to go to the gym, you don't have to go to the gym just because that's on your schedule. Giving yourself grace and flexibility to make exceptions to the plan or what you plan on doing, or expecting yourself to be just perfect all the time. And so I think that practically, like, what are some of the things that we do?
Oh man, there's so many different ways that we practice this. And just a quick reminder, like what Meg and I do may look completely different for you. So just keep that in mind, but we hoped in sharing some of what we do personally might give you some insight as to what we specifically need. Because that's part of the concept too of this community, right? So we want to give you like the specific information, the actionable items, rather than just kind of talk about it in an abstract way. So let's start maybe with exercise as the first thing we'll talk about.
So I want to use you as an example, actually. So here a few months ago, Victoria, you used to love weightlifting. You would go like to the gym and lift weights and all that stuff, but you started to feel like it wasn't really intuitive for you and it didn't really feel good in your body anymore. So and yoga feels great to you, walking feels great to you. So that's what she decided, because she has such body awareness and that body and soul awareness, that she decided, hey, this isn't working for me, at least right now. I don't feel like I have to do it. There's no expectation there. I'm going to nix that and focus on yoga.
Yeah, so that helped to be able to do that, because I didn't attach my identity to being like a weightlifter, for example. I just was in my body and realizing, I had a season of life where weightlifting felt really good, and it no longer is serving me. I'm no longer feeling like my best version of myself by doing these exercises. They were not making me feel energetically or mentally my best, and what was making me feel my best was yoga. So I just switched, and because my identity wasn't in being this one particular type of exerciser, it was quite an easy transition. And another way that we can evolve in this conversation of exercise is, how frequently we exercise. So I love going to the yoga studio that I go to here in St. Petersburg, Florida. They have tons of varieties of classes. So I typically just pick the classes that day that feel the best at that moment. So sometimes it's like the most slow form of restorative yoga. Sometimes it's a power yoga, rocket, flow down, whatever feels best. And I choose that day in that moment rather than planning it out. And if I don't feel like exercising at all that day, which is often, honestly, I don't exercise every day anymore like I used to. Again, I used to pencil it in, make myself have to exercise every day. And now I just wake up and in that moment and generally decide if I want to or not. Now I'll probably exercise maybe 3 or 4 times a week, maybe. It really does change week by week too, and depending on what point of my period I am on as well, which is a topic I'm sure we'll delve into a lot more deeply in the community as well. What about you, Matt? Could you give us a specific example of like how you specifically approach exercise?
Yeah, and I also love, to your point, that and maybe in a few months or in a year, like your type of exercise is going to change. And that's the thing, like this is so fluid. We don't have to, like Victoria said, attach to one way of doing something and make our identity that. And then it removes all that pressure and that expectation off that. And we can just be fluid with our bodies, because as women, we are such cyclical beings. And sometimes, like depending on the time of month or even just the time of year or the time of life that you're on, it's always going to change, because we have ebbs and flows, and that's just what it is to be a woman. For me personally, I've realized here, it's been, how long has it been? It's been a few years now. I realized that running and doing cardio workouts don't really serve me. I don't enjoy them, so I don't do them anymore. And I personally really enjoy it. It really feels good for me to lift weights right now, but I do not force myself to run. I do not force myself to do anything I don't want to do in the gym. And I go very, I wouldn't even say sporadically, but just when I'm feeling like going. It's not an expectation I have. It's not something I pencil in really. It's something I have an intention to do certain days, but I give myself the option that day of going or not going.
So something we'll talk a lot in the community is having multiple tools in your toolbox to help you deal with the stressors or the different aspects of life. A lot of times we feel like we have to have exercise to have physical health, but a lot of times people also use it because it's their only form of stress management. And that's how we also want to share with you guys the different ways in which we have tools in our toolbox essentially to help manage stress, manage these different aspects, so that if your body physically is telling you, hey, exercise isn't a good choice for today, you have other tools that you can utilize as well.
Yeah, to heal and to feel.
Yeah, heal and to feel.
Yeah, so this can be so applied to food as well. Again, not attaching labels to foods. I mean, that is number one. When foods don't have the labels of good and bad, then we remove the shame and the guilt that we attach to them, and we remove that morality that we attach to it. And then again, we also allow our bodies to determine what we're going to eat versus allowing the diet culture and just culture around us to determine what we should put in our bodies. And so, yeah, what feels good to me is going to be so different than you, and what feels good to me is going to change every single day. And so I think it's so fun, and that's such a part of intuitive eating, to recognize that I'm probably going to eat at a different time every day, and that's okay. I'm probably going to eat different things every day. And sometimes, eating the hamburger or the pizza and things that are not, we have this idea that these are like splurge foods or weekend foods, but these are just foods. And sometimes, when we remove the labels, we will find that we will gravitate toward things that make us feel good. And sometimes it's a hamburger, and sometimes it's the green juice. But I don't attach any sort of label on those, and I just let myself gravitate towards the one that I want in the moment. So there really is no rhyme or reason to what I eat, when I eat. I just kind of take it day by day, take it with the flow, and that's how I roll.
Same here. Yeah, it did, I think. Same here though. I mean, some days I eat vegetables at every meal because that feels like the right decision there. And then sometimes I go days without eating vegetables. And again, because I don't have labels or I don't label foods as good or bad, I don't beat myself up if I don't eat vegetables or give myself these rules around how I have to eat specific foods. I just eat in the moment how it feels best. And we will definitely walk you guys through like in more detail what intuitive eating looks like, how to become more intuitive, because I think that's the hardest thing that a lot of us struggle with is how. So intuitive eating sounds wonderful, but how do I actually learn to tune into my intuition? Don't worry, we're gonna definitely cover these types of concepts in our conversations and explore more of that in our videos.
Absolutely. And so that is the premise of Wellness Without Obsession, and pretty much the premise of how we approach all things wellness related, food related, health related, any of these things. And so we hope that you've gotten a really great idea of where we're going to be going with this. We're going to be addressing a lot of different topics. We're going to be talking about hormones, digestion, intuitive eating, all the things. So please let us know, give us some feedback on what you would like to see, where you would like us to dive more into detail in the nitty gritty of things. And yeah, we really can't wait.
Yeah, we'll create our content based off of what you would like. So we're excited to do that and explore more of that for you guys.
Absolutely. Bye guys.